Yeah, I see this as I'm walking down the path. I see this open field. It's like I see a few buildings ahead of me. It's like a little village, very small.
Oh, very small.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now let's continue now to that village.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, what do you see?
Well, I'm at the edge of the little village, and it's a very pleasant place. The air is very comfortable. It's warm. It's like old buildings, you know, and people walking around.
Okay, what do the people look like?
They look like people that you would see in past times in the western part of the United States.
Are you talking about the pioneer days?
Yeah, kind of that. Maybe a little bit later than that.
A little bit later. More settled?
They were more settled. They're very friendly with each other. It's very peaceful here. There's really a sense of really being a big family.
How big is your community?
It's just a couple hundred people. It's not, I don't even know if it's a couple hundred. It may even be like 50 or 60.
Oh. And how old is the town?
Well, the buildings are, I would say, they're kind of old buildings.
What are they made of?
They're all made out of wood.
Made of wood? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How many stories are they?
They're usually 1 or 2 stories.
1 or 2 stories?
Yeah.
Okay, and look at a couple of these buildings. Tell me, what is their function? What are they used for?
Well, they're like there's this one that has kind of like a general store. And the woman's come out to greet me, this woman. And she wanted to know if I needed help. And
what kind of help?
She wanted to know if I just needed any help. I said, no, I'm just walking by. And ask her, you know, what is this town? And she says, or this community, and she says, it's a very friendly community, and she asked me to come into the store, and I did, and it has food, but it also has a lot of beautiful items in it.
What kind of beautiful items?
Kind of like things you would hang from a ceiling. You know, colorful little things. And I asked her where she got it, and she said that there's people that come here every once in a while to sell things to them.
Okay, I see. And tell me, what are you doing now? What are you doing in this town? You said you're just passing through.
What I came to town, or what's happening now is I'm moving outside of the store. And I'm drawn to, there's a a heel, a high heel. And on this heel, I sense that there is a cave. And I'm drawn to that cave.
Okay, what's drawing you into this cave?
There's something in it that I'm supposed to see.
Okay, let's go into this cave.
I'm just being drawn there, being guided by my spirit guides.
Your spirit guides.
Mm-hmm.
Is this just your intuition, or do you see them, or do you sense them?
I don't see them. I just feel I feel his presence.
Okay, which spirit guide is this?
It's one that it's Enoch.
Okay, Enoch. Okay, and he wants you to go into this cave?
Yeah, so we're at this cave, and he's asked me if I would join him. And he leads me into this cave. And as you walk into the cave, it becomes it kind of has a light within it. But it's not a light that's produced by anything that I'm familiar with. It just is a glow. It's like there's no electricity or anything. It just has a magical light. And as I walk in and go further into the cave, it becomes a very big room. And in this room, it has a lot of gold in it, gold items in it. And it's a very special place. And he says that I am to follow him. And I follow him through this big room into another room. And in that room, there's these beautiful beings of light. And they introduce themselves as they introduce themselves, I feel this very beautiful, peaceful, calmness come over my body. And it's like they're giving me information, but not through words. It's through just telepathically.
Okay, tell me, what are you receiving?
It's kind of like when the information comes, it's almost like in the form of music. It vibrates like music. And what is being given to me is very, very ancient wisdom, knowledge that was once on earth and respected on earth, but it got lost.
And when was the last time it was on earth? This wisdom.
It was when Lemuria was here, and this was a place that was kind of kept, one of the places that it was kept where the information was to be maintained.
I see. Okay.
But what they're telling me is that the information is coming now back into the human consciousness to those who can understand and respect and realize the significance of the message that is being given.
Okay, let's share some of this knowledge now. Tell me, what are you learning from Enoch?
Well, what the music is saying, or what the sound is saying, is that there is a vastness that is much bigger than what is known. They knew, the ancient ones knew, that we were not the only thing in existence, that there is other dimensions, that there's other realities, that there's other beings of different forms that exist in this infinite existence, and that we were a part of that, and knowing of that we were just a part of this existence, and that information is coming forth, and many people know of it on this earth, but have kept it a secret until recently, and now it's being brought to the surface by many different people throughout the world. When I say many people, it's a handful, but it is expanding quite rapidly.
I see.
Also, in the message that I'm receiving, is that humans think they are limited in their abilities, but they are not, except by their own choice. They have limited themselves. It's really not their choice, it's just that they don't know that they can create with the right understandings and beliefs and trust.
So let's ask Enoch now about some of this vastness. What is consciousness exploring now in other realms of this vastness we're talking about?
Yes. Well, I must first say that there is some blockages in receiving. When you go outside the earth atmosphere, there's blockages, or have been, but those blockages are being removed so that humanity can see or experience the other realms. The main thing that we need to do is to raise our vibration. And the more we raise our consciousness, our vibrational, the more we will be able to experience the vastness of the universe and see that we are one with all of existence. But we have been kept from seeing it by misinformation and ignorance. And what is happening is, the more we move through our karma, the more we release the hold on our vibration. So that's released, and so we can raise our vibration. Or actually, it raises itself. But when we see that we have, and understood that we have third level karma, it is keeping us from from seeing the vastness. So the main thing to do in this life is to remove the karma.
Remove the karma. How do we do that?
The main thing is to forgive ourselves, because we feel so guilty for all the mistakes we have made. We feel guilty for all the hurts we have done to our own self as well as to others. But if we just understand that we are learning here, that we're growing here, growing in understanding of who we truly are, and that we make mistakes sometimes, and that keeps us from seeing the true self. We just need to forgive ourselves and ask for forgiveness for those we have hurt along the way. It's not so important to remember all the mistakes we have made. We just need to say, I'm so sorry, to our own self as well as to those we have hurt. It's not so important, or it's not a good thing to go into karma, into deep regret for what we did, cathartic about it, but just to let it rise up, acknowledge it, and say, what have I learned from that experience?
Mm-hmm.
And the more we let go of the karma, the deeper we go within. And the more we go within, we see who we truly are. The other thing is to be of great service to others, to help others in their evolution. And it can be a simple thing. It doesn't mean that we need to suffer to serve others, but just to be beautiful beings of love.
And what is something that Devin needs to let go of? Any kind of guilt or ideas about karma?
Mm-hmm. He has, I'll give you some examples. We won't go through the whole thing. But one of the things is he needs to forgive his judgment of others. And he's slowly doing that. He realizes he does not know why people do what they do. They're going through their own process. And he needs to continue, or it'd be helpful for him to continue to just to be of love to others and not to judge them. Because really, when he's judging them, he's judging himself.
Right. Now, if Devin, when he's in spirit, and he does not judge others this way, I'm guessing. Why is it that he feels like he's judging them in this life? What's different about the soul that he's judging them now where he wouldn't be in spirit?
When a person takes on a body, he begins to identify with the body, with the emotions and the understanding that he was presented in the younger part of his life. He experienced a lot of, judgment from others. He, as we all do, he received a lot of criticism and judgment, and he also realized that he was judging others eventually, because that was what he thought, that's how he was brought up. And that's how society is. The human dilemma on this earth is learning to be of love. But we always fear being rejected or being judged, that the fear has kind of overshadowed love. When one is in your purity, you're in pure love. There is no fear. When you come on earth, the fear is here. Not only is the fear that Devin has, but he also feels the fear of others and takes that on as well. It becomes a collective fear.
And how can Devin connect more with this purity?
Repeat that, please.
You said when you said something like when there's purity, you don't have the fear.
Mm-hmm.
And how can Devin have more of that purity?
The main thing is to be aware. To be aware of what he's thinking, what he's doing. And when he's aware, he has a choice. But when he's not aware and he just kind of does what he's been programmed to do, he doesn't realize he has a choice. He just follows a habit. And
right.
But the more he's aware, the more he can break the habit and saying, that really doesn't work for me anymore. But it's a process. It's a process. And so he may repeat some old patterns again, but he's getting less and less of doing those old patterns. He sees beings as trying to learn and to grow as he is. So he's doing less and less judging of others and be more compassionate. When he's more compassionate, he's actually, to others, he's actually more compassionate to himself. And when he's more compassionate, his love just flows outward as well as it expands within himself. And so he feels a great love for himself that moves so far out. That is what is helpful to humanity, when we love ourselves and have great passion for ourselves. It moves out and we share it with others just by our very presence.
It sounds like awareness and presence is you're describing as like more of an active focus, an active presence, rather than, and Devin can sometimes just be kind of passive and follow just his programming. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. I have a question. Why is Devin being shown this this small town in the American West?
Mm-hmm. One of the main reasons is that it is next to the cave, into that beautiful space where the beings live, or dwell, or meet. And the town is very calm. And for him to go into the cave, he had to be calm. And as we said when we came into town, that it was like a big family. Like there was friendships that were so connected. That brought him into that peaceful state. And in being in that peaceful state, then he can move into the cave. But he had to have that type of energy to get into the cave.
And this is tell us about this life of what did Devin learn in this life? Or why did he plan this life? What happened?
In the life he's in now?
The life with the cave next to the community.
Mm-hmm. And repeat the question one more time.
What did Devin what was learned in that life? What was experienced?
Well, in a sense, it really wasn't a life.
Okay, what was that?
It was to present an image of this beautiful peacefulness and to realize that there is this space in everyone's life that they can see and hear this beautiful music, which really is a vibration, and they can see the other realities. The town and the cave really doesn't exist in a form like he described it.
I see.
It was symbolic of a type of energy that one needs to rise himself to a higher level of consciousness to see the vastness of existence.
Right. And for example, in the upcoming, let's say, 2 months, what can Devin do to follow, to what's the word? To put into practice what he's experiencing and seeing this image?
Mm-hmm. That is an extremely important question. What Devin needs to continue to do, and I say continue because he's in the process and has always been in the process of gaining better understandings of his true nature, as all beings are trying to do. In the next few months, he will get an even deeper glimpse of his true nature. He will have not only a glimpse of it, but he will have the experiential event that will help him to get a deeper understanding of his true nature. You can have deep philosophy of one's true nature. What needs to also happen is experiential.
Put it into practice.
It's more of just a knowingness at a deeper level.
Mm-hmm.
If you notice, he's not a very philosophical being in his daily life. He has a teacher who was experiential, although she brought many masters into his presence that were more philosophical. He is more of experiential. So lots of times you'll ask him a question of his experience, but he will not answer it in a philosophical way.
Mm-hmm.
He'll express it in a very experiential way. The reason for that is that in other lifetimes he was very philosophical, extremely philosophical, and was a very, very respected philosopher. But in this lifetime, he chose to have the experience That's why he cannot read or write very well. That's why his speaking abilities gets kind of jumbled up now and then, because he did not want to be confined to the philosophical way of thinking. He wanted to experience it.
Okay, now I want you to breathe in and breathe out, relaxing, clearing your mind. I'm going to count now from 3 to 1. And we're going to go now to that life as the philosopher. 3, 2, 1. Be there now at an important scene. Tell me, what are you seeing?
He is talking to many different young men, and he's outdoors sharing his philosophy. He was well respected throughout Europe, and he really traveled quite a bit, and people sought him out. He understood greatly many things. He understood about the world. He was kind of had a scientific, logical mind, but he didn't. But his spiritual, and he was spiritual, but it was not as it is in this lifetime, where he has a deeper understanding of existence in a much different way. He understood in one respect, but he learned something different in this life.
So what is your philosophy in this life? In this life you're seeing in Europe?
Mm-hmm.
What did you write about or teach about?
Mm-hmm. I understood that there was a deep logic to things, that there was a deep understanding. I had a deep understanding of the human consciousness, that it was limited, that there was more to life than what the consciousness at that time understood. A lot of what I taught had to do with seeing life from a non-human way, to see it from a very, like, standing on top, actually beyond the earth, moving beyond the earth, and seeing that there's different ways of perceiving life. That there was ancient teachings that had gotten lost, that needed to be brought forth. And one of the things that I saw that I could bring forth was the understanding of duality. One of the things is that people didn't understand duality where I lived. They did not understand that there is, they saw things as black and white, but they didn't understand that there was a greater way of seeing things. That In duality, he saw separation. In duality, you saw that you were separate from everything else. But what I saw was that, no, we all are in this together. It was like what I just told you earlier in this conversation, that we are all one, that the term that I symbolically used was that we're all family. You could use the word family, but it's more than just a family. We are one, but we have separated ourselves through duality, thinking that I am different than you. In form, we are, but in reality, we're not. In the deep reality, in the deep truth. I also saw, and I also shared, that we are more than just the thoughts that we were talking about. We just use thoughts to help us through our life, but to move through life, to help us make sure that the physical form is kept alive. And the reason why we want the physical form to keep alive was because we needed the form to house the true nature, our soul, what people now call the soul or the spirit. And the body houses the spirit. But I also understood and told people that we are more than just here to maintain the physical form. We're here to nourish that which the body is holding, the spirit. And how do we nourish it? By deeply understanding, by deeply loving ourselves, by deeply respecting ourselves. And respecting ourselves, then we respect others.
Okay, thank you for that message.
But I also taught that this was all an illusion.
It's all an illusion. It kind of sounds like the point of seeing that image of the cave next to the town is that that image is part of the oneness, in the same way a past life is part of the oneness. Really, we don't necessarily have to differentiate if we're getting the same experience, the same growth.
Yeah.
Now, looking at yourself as this philosopher, tell me, what do you look like?
I am very small. I shouldn't say very small, but I was small. I had a beard. And at the time that I'm speaking about, I had gray hair. And I also had a European look to me because that's where I was.
What did the people look like where you live? What color was their hair?
They had mostly, well, they had different colors of hair, but mostly dark.
What about skin tone?
The skin tone ranged, and it was mostly a brown, a light brown.
Mm-hmm. The hair was straight or curly?
Again, it varied. It wasn't straight, nor was it curly. It just had some wave to it.
Wave, okay. Which part of Europe did you grow up in?
It was mostly, I traveled a lot, but when I was young, it was Greece.
Okay, and what is the time period?
The time period that I am speaking about is around the 13th century.
13th century, okay. And do you have a name? What is your name?
My name was Johanno.
Jahano?
Yeah.
Okay. And when you where did you travel to? Around Greece or other countries too?
I went into Rome.
Into Rome.
And I also went into the Middle East.
The Middle East.
And then I met in the Middle East when I was young, I met some very deep, wise beings who shared their knowledge with me, who had experiences of being very high-level consciousness. They spoke of being one with things, but from my perspective, they didn't have the experience of what that really meant.
These beings were people or something else?
They were beings of the earth, but they also was influenced by what they described as angels.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now, whether they were what you call angels that most people talk about, or were they beings of another reality?
All right. And I want you to move now. I'm going to count from 3 to 1. And we're going to move to a scene in Rome.
Mm-hmm.
When you visited Rome.
Yes.
3, 2, and 1. And be there now. Tell me, what are you doing?
Yes. I was walking the streets. It seemed to be a very chaotic place. It seemed to be very, very disjointed. There was a lot of chaos, because at this point there was a lot of friction, factions in the populace.
Society was unstable?
It was very unstable.
And how do you react? What's going on with you right now? What are you doing? You see all this chaos. How are you reacting?
Mm-hmm. I realized that it was sad to me. It was sad to me because I've had experiences where there was much unity, and yet in this place there was less unity. There was so much fear. There was so much worrying about surviving, about being crucified, about being tortured. And there was so much going on. And there was much talk of, and there was war. There was talk of it, and there was war during this time. There was always conflicts between warlords. And there was a lot of that going on the outskirts of the country. And so what I learned from that experience was how humanity is under great fear, and that is one way of living, but that's not the ideal way of living. So I moved back to Greece.
Right. So when we are in...
I went to Rome to see great philosophers, but that did not happen.
It did not happen. Well, it sounded like you went there on a soul level for an advanced lesson in learning about how fear creates a greater challenge, a greater sense of separation.
It created tremendous separation, which was the opposite of what I taught. And I learned from that when I speak, that I would use that as an example of how fear separates, in that love of oneself and taking care of oneself can lead to more of a union.
More of a union, okay?
With oneself and with others.
And what would you say to someone who was just stuck and would say, well, I'm barely surviving here, and I'm worried about myself and my family.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to this person?
Yes, I understand. And I was there many times in many lifetimes. And what I would say is that it's like the first thing, the most important thing, is to really love oneself. But to do that is to forgive oneself. Because if you do not forgive yourself, you will feel you don't deserve to have a beautiful life. Now, I say this, and it is very philosophical. But if you put it into practice, it really helps. It's like you really need to, it's really helpful to really believe that you are truly a presence of the divine. You are an aspect of the divine. And so to treat yourself with respect, magic can happen. Things can change. It's so important. It's so important not to be captivated in fear. And yet it's understandable when there's lack of food or lack of shelter or there's threats. It's understandable. And it takes a lot of determination and trust to move out of that dilemma. But if one sees himself as a divine presence and form, part of the ultimate divine, then and ask, why would I need to suffer if I am part of the divine? I need not. And magic can then happen. But magic can happen only when you have respect for yourself.
And you have to see yourself as worthy of a life without fear.
Right. And be patient. But things can also happen very instantly.
All right. Okay, I'm going to move now to 1 minute before the final breath in that life of the Greek philosopher.
Mm-hmm.
3, 2, 1, and be there now. And tell me, where are you?
I'm in Athens.
You're in Athens. Okay.
I'm in Athens.
And what time are you? Where are you now?
And
Where in Athens?
I'm in my dwelling, my place of where I live, and there is a couple people with me, and they're holding the space, what I call holding the space. They're giving me what I need, water and food, and they're giving me so much love. And I appreciate them, and they appreciate me for knowing each other.
Okay.
And what is interesting is that in that moment, I just feel this beautiful presence above me who is singing to me.
Singing. What does the singing sound like?
It's like an angel speaking. And as the angel speaks, I receive it as music.
Very good. Okay. I want you to move now. I'm going to count from 3 to 1 and move to the moment where you're transitioning out of the body. 3, 2, 1. And transitioning out. And tell me what's going on.
I'm seeing this beautiful light, and I'm hearing the beautiful music. It's so interesting. The music is love itself. It's love itself.
The music is love itself.
It's like, that is love. The music is love. It's undescribable. I don't know how to describe it. It's like you speak the word love, and the word love is love. That's the best I can do to describe the music. It is love itself. It's the vibration of love.
Beautiful.
And as the music is being heard, the love, there's so much brightness. All the colors of the rainbow and beyond is in that moment, in that sound.
What's it like seeing this beyond?
It's kind of interesting. It's like I'm just in this light. I'm nowhere, and yet I'm everywhere. It's very interesting. I have no fear. I just have this tremendous love. It's indescribable.
And what's happening to the personality of the Greek philosopher?
It's not there at this time.
So what is there?
It's just the feeling of awe, of bliss.
Do you have
There's no words to describe it because there's no thoughts. There's just that experience of great compassion. And now I'm moving into a place where I'm seeing beings who are great friends of mine who have come to join me. And it's like a great celebration.
Did these beings have incarnations with you, or are they guides, or something else?
They were reincarnation. They
had physical lives with you?
Yes.
Okay. And what are they saying to you, if they're saying anything? What's happening?
It's so interesting. It's like they're not saying it in words. It's like when they communicate, again, it's like music. And it's like they're very pleased by what I had experienced on earth. They were very pleased, and they were very And I was very pleased to see them and appreciated their gifts to me. So it was like we were celebrating the gifts we gave to each other.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I want you to go now. Is there a time or a point where you look back on the life of the philosopher and talk about where you are in your soul's journey? Do you meet any of your guides or counsel? What's next?
I wouldn't call them that. I didn't see them as that. I did receive knowledge from them, but I didn't know exactly how I was receiving it or who was giving it to me. I felt the love with the knowledge that was being given, and the experience with what I now know as the spirit guides. I felt their love. I felt their tremendous help they gave me. But in that lifetime, I didn't quite see it as I see it at this time.
And what are you seeing? How are you seeing it differently now?
Well, now I know that I have tremendous help from the spiritual realm. And it is even that perspective is changing as I see that there is different levels of help. There's the angel type of help, and there's also beings who have transcended this earth and who have great spiritual awakening that's helping me. So I see the angels, and I also see high level beings who have transcended their life here on earth. They no longer need to come here.
How do the angels help you?
The angels are more helping on a more practical level in some ways, which is kind of ironic. And the spiritual masters who have transcended is helping me help me to transcend my own limitations.
Can you give an example of something the angels do?
It's more of helping me to move through life in a more easy way, get me out of situations that is not to my benefit. To give you an example, when I was in Peru, I was going into a very unsafe place. And so Angel presented himself in a human form and told me not to go the direction I was going, but gently directed me and guided me in the right direction.
Okay. Devin sometimes wonders about his own identity in terms of his ability to use logic and read and write and analyze things. And it sounds like this life as the Greek philosopher was a culmination of that ability to use analysis and logic.
Mm-hmm.
Why is Devin now or since then choosing to have lives that are very different from that, where he's not as analytical?
Mm-hmm. For Devin, he needed to understand have the experiences in this lifetime, because this lifetime is a very emotional lifetime for this society, because it's going through such a transition. Mm-hmm. That he felt that because most people that he would be relating to were more on the emotional than the logical way of living life. He wanted to talk to the people who are more in the emotional level in this lifetime.
So more of an emotional type of experience. Okay.
His life has been said many other times, is that he observed life differently this time. It's a very busy time in your world, but he was able to live in such a way that he could observe, he could sit back and observe life and how people receive life. And in that, he then could see, how can I help people? How can I help them? But for me for me to help them, I had to understand their dilemma. The world has gone through so much change, and it's constantly changing. But at this time, the change is going to be very drastic. It's speeding up. Things are evolving quite quickly. Where back in the days when he was a great philosopher, things did not move so quickly as it is now.
Okay, so Devin is awake here. Tell me, when you saw this town in the American West, was it real? What was it?
No, it was illusion, just like this whole world's illusion.
Mm-hmm.
And so I use the word during the session as symbolic, but actually it was to present, like if you listen to it carefully, it's like it said, what was said was that to get into the cave, he had to first had this experience of oneness with like it was a family, like the town felt like a family.
Oh, right.
And he felt this love. And if he hadn't felt that oneness, that love, he couldn't have gone into the cave. Now, what that was all about, what that was symbolic about, was that when you get into that state of oneness, that's what you'll experience. That beautiful music and sounds, and that there's no words spoken, actually. It's all vibration. And you hear the vibration as music. It's like
you're just resonating with everything.
It's like it's a vibrating, Music is a vibration. That's all it is. And actually, music is color. Vibration is a color. We don't see it with our eyes, but there is a color to every word, every sound that one makes. You're sending out a vibration. We can't see the color of that vibration, but there's a color that goes with it. It is it.
So this town was a creation in the same way Boulder now is a creation, right? How did it feel?
The town?
Yeah, what you were seeing there. I mean,
Well, as I said,
I guess it's very similar in a way, right?
well, yeah, I mean, okay.
Or say whatever you want to say about it.
Well, wherever a person lives, they're living in that vibration of that community.
Right.
And they have an opportunity to take that vibration and hear what is being taught in that vibration. That's pretty deep there.
I feel this every week when I live in Boulder and I have to go commute to downtown Denver, and it's just like one vibration to a totally different vibration. It's just like being in one fish tank into a different fish tank, or something out of a saltwater fish tank into a freshwater fish tank.
You know, even the land has a vibration,
Right.
right? Because the land is made up of elements. Each element has a vibration. That's scientific.
Mm-hmm.
That's scientific. So when somebody moves to an area, they're moving into the vibration of the earth in that place. Well, everybody is drawn to that particular type of vibration. Some people like the ocean, so they're going to the ocean because, you know, that area, the beach and everything, it's like there's a certain vibration there. It brings a calmness there. There's a calmness there usually, you know.
And what about the mountains? What does that mean to you, being next to the mountains?
Well, there's several meanings to that. One is that the elements that make up the mountains. I mean, there's different mountains in the world, right? So why would I choose these mountains versus other mountains? That's because of the elements. But the other thing about it is that the higher you go in the mountains, the higher your vibration is.
Okay.
I mean, why do you think the Himalayas is such a magical place? It's high.
Those have the highest peak too, right?
Yeah, you know, it's huge, and because of that, and because of all the meditation and all of the
What's the energy that's put into the place?
yeah.
Okay.
So you have you know, if everybody in Denver meditated, let's just use this analogy. If they would meditate and did certain mantras or certain, you know, things like that, practices, they would raise the vibration of Denver that may be even higher than Boulder. The reason why Boulder is higher is because of all the masters that have moved through Boulder. Mm-hmm. It's huge. Right. I mean, I've met so many masters. I've been so blessed. And also you have Naropa, which is a Buddhist community, you know, and that brought a whole energy field.
Yeah, they do a lot of meditation.
A lot of meditation. And their studies, you know, like they have studies of ecology, you know, so that how the earth. So they take it and they use it in a positive way. They don't just meditate, but they also put it into practice in a way that will help humanity.
Mm-hmm. Anything you want to say about you had a unique experience in heaven this time after the life of the Greek philosopher. You heard the music. Yeah. Love is music.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you want to say about that?
Well, I think what's interesting is that I've always known that music had a vibrate, you know, had lights, you know, like vibration is light, and that music. That's why you see beings, like heaven has all the bright lights, right? Because it has a higher vibration.